I don't feel comfortable talking to my fiance about it because I don't want to worry him if it's nothing. But I also feel like if it is something, I have to tell him soon. It's not on. There we go.
We just got a new tripod. There's a clicker for it.
It works like 50% of the time.
We've taken maybe 100 photos that were never taken, but okay, cool. Hi guys, I'm Hannah.
I'm Sadie.
And we're not straight. And before we start today, we wanted to say thank you for the support that you've shown in the past week, especially. We've heard from people from all over the world, from Australia, Germany, and we just wanted to say how cool that is and how much we appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. Thanks for shouting out and getting in touch with us.
We love
comments.
Yes.
Keep watching our videos. Hopefully we have more fun things to say. And
So today we're gonna do a Sadie story part 1.
Yeah, part 1 of 2.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to share with you guys, kind of in the same vein as what Hannah shared a couple of days ago about her coming out story. And I wanted to start off by telling the first part, which is basically just how I realized I'm gay. Mm-hmm. My realizing I'm gay and coming out was very much wrapped up in the same kind of chain of events. And so I want to share just the first part of that today, and then later on we'll fill in the rest with the post-realization details. Mm-hmm. I grew up in a pretty small, pretty conservative, and very religious town and family. With that, I think came a lot of influence on how I understood myself and how I understood my own sexuality, because I only saw outward expressions of the dominant narrative of families with a mom and a dad and kids and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And that was what I participated in through high school, through college, and it wasn't until college that I really became really close with people who were openly gay. Mm-hmm. And so it sounds funny to me now to say this, but that was really the first time that I had ever considered that I had ever really given a second thought to being gay in general. Mm-hmm. And I had a lot to learn, and people were very gracious in helping me understand and learn that being gay is okay.
Mm-hmm. And that there are so many other expressions.
Yeah, of not just gay, straight, but so many other
millions.
Yeah, other types of sexualities and other ways of understanding yourself. And at that time, I started to think could I be gay? And I was no, I've had crushes on boys before. I'm not gay. And so I was kind of good. I thought about it. It's really good. And I was really proud of myself. Check off the box. I was really proud of myself for reflecting on it.
I'm so mature. I'm so forward thinking. Yeah. It's funny.
And so, but it was it wasn't really an honest reflection. It was just kind of I wanted to prove to myself that what I already, that I thought I was straight, so I wanted to prove that to myself. Yeah. So I was okay, I've had crushes on boys, I'm straight. So coming out of college, kind of same thing. I dated men, and after a few years, I met someone who, I kind of became reacquainted with someone who I had met previously, and fell in love. And he and I dated for several years, and I think we were super compatible. We were really, I think we were really good friends, which I always valued in or I always wanted in a relationship.
You had a lot in common. Had a lot in common.
And in growing together and in being really close and really compatible with one another and being in love, eventually decided that we were going to get married. And so we got engaged after a few years. And during the time that we were engaged, I met and started hanging out with a group of friends who, most of whom were not straight, and I was spending a lot of time with them. And I think there were a few moments, a few conversations in particular that I'd had with these friends that really triggered my own thoughts. One of those was just a simple question. One of one of these people asked, have you ever had a crush on a girl? And I was like, no, I don't think so. And she was like, not even like when you're in like high school, elementary school, like even looking back on it now. And I was like, no, I think if I had a crush on a girl, I would know, right? Like, you know, if you have feelings for someone.
Apparently not.
And so I was kind of like, I guess not. Like, I don't know. And so I started really thinking about it, and we talked a little bit more, and I was kind of challenged with the notion that like what I understood to be like a crush on someone might have been a miscategorization, and in certain cases, and maybe those girls that I was like thought were really cool in college, or like somebody who I thought I wanted to just like be really close friends with, or I thought had really cool clothes and I wanted to like dress like her or whatever, maybe those were like those were not just like your average run-of-the-mill friendship. And I also, after having some of these like conversations about sexuality with this group of people, like I went to other friends and I started asking questions to them, and just kind of like general wonderings, like, have you ever thought about this? Like, have you ever really given your sexuality a thought? Because I hadn't, and I wanted to know if other people had.
And these are people that she had assumed were just straight.
Yeah, these are like close friends of mine.
Yeah.
Who I'd never like thought to discuss sexuality with.
Right.
Like, it wasn't just, they were really good friends, but it wasn't a topic of conversation that we'd ever had. And when I like approached them with this, I started to learn so much about my friends that I thought I knew super well. And I started to realize like everyone has a different experience of sexuality, of love, of friendship, of relationships. And here I was like just listening to this narrative, like dominant narrative of like, have a crush, date someone, date them long enough, you get married, you know, that kind of thing.
And you project that onto everyone.
Onto other people, yeah. And I was realizing like, wow, like I had never thought that it could be so different for everyone. Like I just thought that everyone was the same as me. But I was learning so much about these people. And throughout this time, I was like thinking about my friendships, and I was thinking about how valuable like my female friendships are to me, and like how important those were, and that was like just something that I would never sacrifice. And I started just kind of like examining that and thinking about like, why are they so like profoundly important to me? Like, what is there something more here? And not to say that I had crushes on all of my female friends.
All of her female friends.
Literally every single one of you. But I do like have, I think I was realizing that like connection with women is something that is like very valuable to me. And so, and that was like,
that was part of it.
Yeah, that was kind of like a jumping off point. And so throughout this time, like I'm engaged to my fiance, and I'm having these conversations with the knowledge that I'm going to get married to this man, and and that anything I discover about myself is just something that I hadn't realized before, but that I was making a decision, and that was like, that's a decision I've made.
Right, which is kind of like limiting from the get-go. Like that's the filter through which all of this is like discussed and considered, is like the understanding that you'll get married, but you can still talk about this and think about this, but...
So there was kind of like a screen, like there was like, definitely like a wall. As these conversations are happening, the wedding is getting closer, and I had a bachelorette party with a bunch of friends, and I hadn't seen a lot of my friends in a while, Hannah included, and and when she showed up, I was like super stoked. I hadn't seen her in like a month maybe, and hadn't talked to her much, and so I was super excited to see her, and we ended up spending
like that whole weekend just hanging out. Yeah,
hanging out, having like catch-up conversations. And Hannah and I and my fiance were all working together at the time. And so I had kind of started thinking, I'd kind of been thinking like in conjunction with these like sexuality conversations and me like really considering this on my own, I was also kind of feeling like distant from my fiance at the time, and I was like, man, like we work together, like shouldn't I feel really close to you? And I was like, maybe it's just like work stuff, like maybe it's just not, I don't know, maybe there's nothing to it. I was just wondering about, you know, like what does this mean? Because like the wedding is coming up, and so I was talking to Hannah about it one day before work.
And it was in the context of like, everyone expects me to be so like over the moon excited for this day. And I know that weddings can be super stressful, planning wise, and like, I don't know, there's a lot of drama associated with weddings already. So I was like, it's normal to not feel like super excited. It's a stressful time. But then the conversation kind of geared less about the wedding and more toward her sexuality.
So I kind of just told her, like, I've been talking to these friends about like sexuality, and I've just been like thinking about this more, and like realizing that while I thought I had like checked off this box in college, like I didn't actually give it a fair like consideration. And so I've been doing that more now, and I'm trying to figure out like, you know, trying to figure this out.
And she brings this up to me like 5 minutes before work is starting, which is not nearly enough time to cover like any of the necessary conversation as like a close friend that I feel I owe to her, considering she's about to get married to a man. So she drops this on me. She's like, I'm not sure that I'm straight. And I'm like, okay, what to do? Honesty, I guess, is all that I can provide. And so I respond with like, oh, well, I've always thought I'm probably bi, so maybe it's not that big of a deal. It's probably okay. You can still get married.
And what I heard, wrapped up in my own self, was, it's okay if you're bi. Like, you can still get married. It's probably fine.
Slight difference, but an important difference.
Very important, because I was like, no, like, don't say that.
When I have just come out to her, like, we've never talked about this, and I'm coming out to her right now before work, and she's like, cut it off. And I'm like, whoa, okay. Like,
so I'm like being super defensive, but what she hears is like me being super mean.
Yeah.
And just like kind of like
it was
ignoring, like totally dismissive. And
we circled back.
We reconciled this conversation like later on. But it was it created a really funny moment that we got to laugh about. And so this was just another conversation that I'd had with someone who I thought, she was dating a man at the time, and I thought that she was straight. And so it was just like yet another example of like what I projected on people was not reality. And I wanted to continue to like really process this and figure it out, because I thought, if I'm dedicating my life to like this partnership, then I want to make sure that I'm being my most honest self. So I wanted to like really figure it out before the wedding, because I wanted to be able to say like, this is who I am, like fully and completely, and like I don't want to have any secrets or like hide anything. So I really wanted to figure it out, and I'm a verbal processor, so
she verbally processed.
So I talked Hannah's ear off, and in talking to Hannah about it, it was like I kind of like saw some of these like flashes of like pieces coming together, like just little like twinklings, I suppose, of like
twinklings. That's a cute word.
I just had a visual in my head of like just like a little bit like a light like twinkling, but then going off again, like you don't know if you saw it. Like it's like I don't know, like is this real? It's like a star.
The star is me. A star is born.
Yeah.
We've never even seen it.
Anyway, so I talked to Hannah. We have a bunch of conversations about this, and I start realizing that like I really like talking to Hannah. I really, and I mean, she was my friend. I knew I liked talking to her, but like I was like, man, I just want to talk to you all day and like figure this out. Like this is so interesting to me, and it's so intriguing to like learn about myself as an adult. And it was also absolutely terrifying to think that there was a piece of me that I had like absolutely missed or ignored all of these like maybe signs throughout my life.
And meanwhile, I'm like heart pounding through these conversations also, because it feels like the stakes are so high, right? So one, it's a really fun thing to talk about, obviously, and this is my friend that I'm like kind of reconnecting with, and that has been awesome. And also, I'm kind of like seeing those flashing moments, and I'm like, whoa, wait. what are we talking about, and does this have anything to do with me? But I can't say any of that because we're still talking about like all of this in a theoretical sense and in the context of her wedding.
Yeah.
Which...
Yeah, and I was like terrified that it had something to do with Hannah.
Yeah. And another thing to add, I was supposed to sing at their wedding, and so there was this like sense of responsibility that like these conversations I was having might have some adverse effect on the outcome of this wedding, and I was the wedding singer, and it was like there was pressure from all sides about this.
Yeah, there really was. And so I was thinking, I mean, during this time, like I'm thinking, I have to figure this out. Mm-hmm. This is on me. And I don't feel comfortable talking to my fiance about it because I don't want to worry him if it's nothing. But I also feel like if it is something, I have to tell him soon. So because I'm a verbal processor, in addition to talking to Hannah, I also talked to a couple other friends and tried to get kind of like their perspective on it and share with them the thoughts and concerns that I was having, and just the worries and like the fears, and they were super supportive. They were like, you have to honor what you feel. You have to listen to your feelings, and you have to give space for that. And if you are feeling these things and you realize that you still want to get married and you want to like be with this person that you have decided to be with, then that's great, and those things can coexist. And if you feel like this isn't something that you can do, or this isn't like the getting married isn't something you can do if you're having these feelings, like that's okay. Like you can figure out the details later, and you just have to be honest about it. So it's really awesome to have like super supportive friends and be able to share with them. And I have to say, when I told them that I felt like I might not be straight, none of them were surprised. Yeah. I also told my mom at this time, and she was like, "Oh, honey, I always knew that you weren't totally straight." I was like, "What?"
Once again,
I didn't know.
Moms always know.
They know. They have this thing.
Yeah.
So it was like, that was kind of like a bizarre like experience to hear people echoing back, like, yeah, that makes sense. While I was feeling like this was brand new information. They were like, yeah, we thought that. Yeah. I was like, what? I did not until like yesterday.
And you're like, if I would have had like maybe 6 months more lead time on this, this could have been easier.
Been way easier.
Yeah.
So anyway, so this was like that was kind of like my realization. This was kind of all leading up to, as you can probably guess, I had to have ultimately a conversation with my fiance about my thoughts, my worries, my concerns, and see where he stood on that. And when I did have that conversation with him, his first reaction was incredibly gracious and very understanding and very compassionate. And he said, that's great. Like, if you're not straight, that's great. As long as your feelings haven't changed for me, like, that doesn't change anything for me. Which I think was really
so
like,
cool.
And very like comfortable in like who he is, and in our relationship too, and knowing that that I wanted the best for both of us, and knowing that me being honest was an attempt to make sure that we had the most like genuine, authentic relationship, and that's really important if we're gonna be together. So I think that was really incredible. So that was kind of my first couple of coming outs, was talking things through with a few friends, and then and my mom and my fiance.
And there's a lot more that came after, and a lot of that was wrapped up with like the wedding and the story that follows. So we'll have more soon. Stay tuned. But thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, and thanks for watching. If you have a similar experience, or if you if you have any connection, I would love to hear from anybody out there. I think since I've told this story to different people,
people have come out of the woodwork to share stories.
Sharing stories like, oh, that happened, like that was my brother, same thing happened to him, or or whatever. So if you have a connection to this at all, we would love to hear from you.
Mm-hmm. And subscribe for the next piece.
Yeah, subscribe for the next piece. I'm excited to share with you guys the rest of the story. It's very complicated. It's very emotional. It's very hard. It's hard to share. This is like, I'm really nervous to share this, but I do think that it's really important for people to hear different narratives, different stories, and that's why I wanted to share it.
So props to you. It's a hard thing to talk about. It's scary to think that you might hurt someone in sharing your own story. Anyway.
Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, thanks. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.